Welcome to a special edition of your trusted local podcast. I'm Danielle Wagner, and joining me is my co-anchor, Beth Malicki. Beth, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this topic.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me and for opening my eyes to some aspects of my own body I didn't realize.
Well, let's talk about that. Perimenopause. Do you know what it is? Have you heard of it? Because I can tell you in the newsroom when I've mentioned that this is the story I've been working on, most people say, what is it? Yeah, they don't know. And to be honest, I really didn't know much about it either before my 3-year journey. We'll get into that in just a second, but for those who don't know, like a lot of people in our newsroom, what perimenopause is, I'm going to read a little bit just so I'm being accurate here. So it ties into menopause, and doctors define menopause as when the ovaries, they stop functioning and the woman hasn't had a menstrual period for a year. So that's menopause. Perimenopause is the time leading up to menopause, and it can vary for a lot of women depending on what age you start, and perimenopause can last anywhere from months to years as well. And there's a lot that happens during the perimenopause time as well. The hormones start to fluctuate, all kinds of fun things that we get to experience.
Yeah, hormones, you don't see them. You can't tell. You can see when you have a cut. When you have a headache, it's very specific.
Yeah.
Hormones are insidious and miraculous.
And they're very important
Yeah.
as well. And I will tell you, my first symptoms started 3 years ago. So I was in my late 30s, which is much earlier than the average. So the transition average is between ages 45 and 55. Again, I was in my late 30s, so I did not know what was happening, and a lot of the doctors that I went to never brought up perimenopause as something that could be it. So my first symptom was actually live on air during a newscast. I was solo anchoring. I felt extremely flushed, hot, heart palpitations, thought my heart was beating out of my chest. I couldn't catch my breath. I don't know how I did it, but I made it to a commercial break, and the meteorologist also sensed like something is not right with you. He got me some water, got through that newscast, but I was like, yeah, this was super weird. I was worried it would happen again.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a panic attack.
Yes, and that's what they thought it was at first. And I was like, but I guarantee you it wasn't, because I was just doing my job. There was nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Like I have done that for 20 years.
Yeah, you don't have an anxiety disorder.
No, it wasn't about the job. There was something else happening with my body that I didn't realize at the time. So went to see my women's health doctor, went to see my primary care provider, ran a bunch of tests, because again, I was just like, I don't know what this is. I don't want it to happen. You know, checked blood. They thought at first it might be my blood pressure. They thought it might be blood sugar. They thought it might be my thyroid.
Sure.
Checked all that, everything was normal.
Well, that's good in a way.
In a way, yes. And I understand you have to rule things out. And that is one of the things with diagnosing perimenopause, is because the symptoms are so broad and sometimes kind of vague that doctors have to test you for a lot of stuff to be able to rule that out. But again, I didn't get the perimenopause diagnosis 3 years ago. I was kind of left with, we don't know. So I was always in a state of, is this going to happen again? And then, as you know, I moved back home to Iowa.
Yay.
I took a job here. So not intentionally, but my health maybe was on the back burner a little bit because I had so much else going on. And it was when I got here, and the best way to describe it is I didn't feel sick. I just felt off.
I remember you saying that.
I just didn't feel like myself. And there would be days I would tell you, like, I'm not.
Yeah, which is a good thing to know in our relationship for being on the air, because it is live.
Yes.
That we do want to know if the other one is at a peak, is at a valley.
Yeah.
You know, that's okay. We're lucky to have a relationship where we can talk about those sorts of things.
And I want to thank you too, because we have very open, honest discussions in the newsroom
Yes, we do.
on all kinds of topics. And it was conversations I had with you, or things that you were talking about that you were experiencing, and you would mention, well, that's a sign of perimenopause. I'm like, wait, it is? And so it kind of got me reignited, because I never got an answer the first time. I was like, okay, I think I have this.
Yeah.
And I say it like it's a disease.
Yeah. It affects 100% of women if you live long enough.
But with our job, we do research. So I started doing research, and check, all of these things started to line up that I'm like, I think I'm in perimenopause. So I went back to a doctor. Unfortunately, at that appointment, I was told, I'm older than you. I'm not in perimenopause. And she just kind of shut the conversation down and wasn't really listening to my symptoms and was basically like, You're have
fine.
it. I don't have it, so you don't have it. So
is that how it works in med school? Judge every diagnosis against your own. That sounds.
No.
I remember you told me that, and I was like, "You need a new doctor."
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's not a bash on all medical professionals by any means.
Yeah.
It just, unfortunately, that was one of the experiences that I had, and I'm sure I'm not alone. And on average, women go to 5 to 7 clinicians before they receive the support and the help that they need for perimenopause symptoms. 5 to 7. I went to 5. That was me. I went
That's
to 5.
a waste of money.
5.
From like the insurance, government side of things, if government is your
Yes.
insurance.
To get someone to listen and believe me and be able to diagnose me, 5. And the 5th was one that you recommended, because I said to you, like, who do you go to? Who do you trust? Who listened to you? So you recommended Dr. Avery Whitus with OBGYN Associates. I made an appointment with her immediately. And I think you were almost impressed, like how quickly I was able to get in.
I was, because you never know when you call, and if it's not something acute, and perimenopause is not, generally speaking.
No, we live with it.
When you've lived with it untreated for so long.
Yes. Like 3 years, a little more than 3 years now. So went to her in April.
Yeah.
And yes, thankfully she listened to me. She heard what I was saying.
Yeah.
The best part was she said to me, yes, I believe you. I do think that you are in perimenopause. And she's like, do you want to treat it? Yes. This is what I had been waiting to hear.
Yes.
In all of these years.
And there is different schools of thought on treating it. And it is a personal decision.
Absolutely.
Because as you mentioned earlier, it is not a disease. It is a natural progression of a human state, because we are fortunate enough to live long enough to be at this end of childbearing years, and the body is shifting. I had a similar situation in that I was on set, and Ellen, our producer, got in my IFB and she goes, Beth, it looks like you're melting. This is years ago, 5 years ago. And I'm like, I feel like I'm melting. I don't feel great.
Yeah.
And I had a hunch it was something related to hormones, because my mom has a pretty significant
Okay, so at
hormone
least you had an
journey.
idea.
I did.
Whereas I was so naive and didn't know.
Your mom didn't talk to you about it?
No. And my mom and I are so close.
Yes, that's what surprises me.
Yes, my mom and I are very, very close. But for some reason, until recently, and when we have talked about it now, but leading up to this, and maybe she, like a lot of people, because I've had it said to me, you're too young for that. But no, it's not happening to you. Just, family members, other people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish that was the case. I wish it wasn't perimenopause. But yeah, so I don't know if it just had never come up.
Yeah.
But we talk about it a lot now. She knows all about.
So, and in terms of treatment for perimenopause and the next stage of it, which is menopause, is largely hormone replacement therapy, which, do you remember maybe 10, 15-ish years ago, the study came out that showed tied hormone replacement therapy to a higher risk of cancer. And it just sent shockwaves through the system.
So that was 2002, the Women's
Okay.
Health Initiative study.
Yes.
It reported, increased risk of heart disease and breast cancer, specifically in postmenopausal women who took estrogen for hormone replacement therapy. Now, that has a lot of doctors and people in medical organizations disagree with that or say it's too broad and it's misleading. And so actually in July, you had pointed this out to me, the FDA held an advisory panel, and all of those doctors on that panel were saying, we need to change this because of that study, there's a black box warning label on estrogen therapies warning you about these things that could potentially happen to you.
And that's a scary warning.
It really
Cancer.
is. A lot of women, these doctors said, stopped taking hormone replacement therapy or never started because they were worried about getting something else from it.
Absolutely.
But again, in July, these doctors advising the FDA, we need to take this label off of most estrogen therapies, especially the low dose ones, because they say it just doesn't hold up anymore.
Yeah, it's not accurate anymore upon further review.
Yes.
And so many women are not just prescribed estrogen, they're also prescribed progesterone.
Yes.
I am not a physician, but the way my physician explained it to me is it is a different game. When you bring them both into it, it has different outcomes in terms of cancer risk.
And I'm now on both of those.
Same.
And I'm glad I am, and I didn't have any hesitation, but I can understand why some women would, but my doctor believes it's safe. The research I've done, I'm comfortable. Again, it's a personal decision.
Absolutely. We're not telling people what to do.
No, you do what you want to do. But I now wear a weekly estrogen patch, and I take a progesterone pill daily, and it's to help with the symptoms, which we'll talk about those as well, so maybe you kind of know if this might be happening to you as well. So I started those late July, early August, and then I go back to Dr. Whitus in September just to kind of gauge how things are doing, if we need to adjust any of the medications. Sure. But I can tell you, I feel a difference. I feel much more like myself.
Yeah.
One of my biggest symptoms, night sweats.
Sleeping. Yes.
Restless sleep.
Yes.
I was so tired all the time just because I wasn't sleeping as well. And I did not realize how often I was having the night sweats until I stopped having them. I was like, because after 3 years, it had just become such a normal part of my life.
Oh, this is what happens.
And I also attributed it to my dogs, because sleeping in bed with a bunch of dogs, they had little furnaces sometimes. So I was like, oh, just because the dogs were in the bed.
Oh, my goodness.
So no, it wasn't that. It was the night sweats.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, I mentioned earlier my symptom of melting on the
Yes.
air. Another symptom I experienced was unchecked rage.
I did not experience that with you. Sorry, I missed
no,
out
I
on
was
that.
well treated after that. But I would get, like, my fuse was short, and I like to think I'm not the most patient person. You know that, Danielle. I'm big energy. I can definitely come in, you know. But it was different. It was a different feeling. I was not comfortable with it. It wasn't an extension of my personality or the moment. In fact, it was the way I felt about things. It didn't matter. They were of no consequence. Like, this doesn't even align with my values, the way that I'm feeling. What is going? So I called my doctor from this building. I went back into the KYOU control room, and I talked to my then doctor, who has since retired. I go, so one of a few things is happening. And it was actually his nurse I talked to. I go, either this is perimenopause, or a menopause, whatever, or I need a psych eval, or a divorce.
Poor Brett.
Sweet Brett. And she goes, oh, yeah. And based on my history, my mom has a very rare kind of menopause.
Interesting.
That started very young.
Okay.
She was 35.
Wow. So a little younger than me, because I think I was around 38.
And very severe. She actually had to go have a leave from work and work part-time because her symptoms were so uncontrollable. I remember she was at one of my son's violin recitals, and she sweat through her jeans in a way that we thought she'd had an accident. And and she wasn't, my mom and I are very, very close in age. She had me in high school. So to see her go through that, like, stuck with me. Obviously, she still has some hormone stuff. But anywho, and the doctor was like, I go, are you going to do a blood test? Are you going to do all this panel? He goes, no, you just had blood work done. Your cholesterol's fine. Your thyroid is fine. You know, your sugars are good. And if I gave you a blood test for your hormones, it will just show what it is today, and it might change by tomorrow.
Yes, that's the tricky part too.
There's no
simple test
for perimenopause. No. He goes, how we test is if you want treatment and you do the treatment and your symptoms are relieved, then we know that's what it was.
Exactly.
What?
And that's why when I met Dr. Whitus and she asked if I wanted to treat them, I was relieved because I had to do something.
Yeah.
And when I was speaking with her about this story and getting permission for her to be interviewed for the story to kind of help share my journey the last 3 years, one of her sound bites was, the symptoms are horrible. And she kind of, we both laughed a little bit, like we did now, because you almost have to. But it is the reality. For some people, the symptoms are horrible.
Yeah, I was so mean.
Very uncomfortable. And so you want to treat them. And again, talk to your doctor, what's best for you. Again, I'm on hormone replacement therapy you are as well. There are non-hormonal therapies as well, because there are some people who just you can't be on hormone
some
replacement.
people who have a cancer risk in their family, specifically ovarian, uterine, breast cancer, things that are specific to the female form, if you will, are really have to work closely with their doctor to not increase their cancer risk.
Yeah.
I don't have that family history, fortunately.
Same.
So that wasn't part of the conversation. A stronger part of the conversation is your mom was so disabled by her menopausal symptoms that she couldn't work full time. So let's make sure that doesn't happen to you, was the perspective of my doctor. I was so relieved because I'm like, I cannot retire. I don't want to retire. No, you
cannot retire. We will not let you retire.
I love it here all the time, every day, 24/7. But I am grateful to be on a treatment protocol, and I am not planning, obviously my husband and I are finished having our kids, all of our kids are adults, so that is also not a conversation we have to be concerned about. Those menopausal symptoms did not intersect with a feeling of disappointment or of loss. It just didn't. But I know that for many women, it can bring about some uncomfortable emotions that hormone replacement therapy might help with, or some treatment might help with, but I don't ever want to neglect your spiritual side, your behavioral health side, and getting that kind of support.
Absolutely.
So I hope with this podcast and with your story, you're encouraging people to have more conversations.
Yes, that's absolutely it. I want it to be a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Because everyone's story is unique to them. Everyone should kind of go on their own journey. But because I had no idea what was happening, what symptoms to look out for, I thought, not enough people are talking about this. And part of it just, we don't know, or you've never had someone close to you experience it.
Yeah.
So I just want to start that conversation, and it, hopefully you can maybe avoid some of the things that happened to me, or the long 3-year journey it took me before I could actually get on the hormone replacement therapy. Because again, I've said, it's worked for me. And that's one of the things that I really learned throughout this 3-year process, and also most recently, is to advocate for myself. And I don't want to say necessarily stand up for myself, but when I was didn't get an answer or didn't necessarily agree with it, continue to seek out advice and do some research. And that's what my doctor, Dr. Whitus, had said too. If you don't get the answer you're looking for, go see someone else. That's not a bad thing. And she said, we're here to help, but you also do have to seek it out. Yes. Because as I mentioned, when I moved and started a new job, I'd kind of stepped away from my medical issues for a while. So I was like, okay, don't sleep on it. Get back to it and go until you find an actual answer.
And really, the faster you can find a treatment that works for you, or a strategy, whatever it is, the less suffering you might have to endure.
Yeah.
There are some medical, being on estrogen can have some protective factors in terms of osteoporosis and in terms of heart disease. And some people would prefer not to use any hormone replacement therapy, or they cannot. Yeah. So even getting education and support to managing those symptoms. There are new products on the market that can help with hot flashes. I remember at one point before treatment, I was having the worst day of hot flashes in the newsroom, and engineering brought a fan from my desk because they're so tired of hearing me complain about it. So, also having a supportive workplace is just a delight.
Yes.
But there are other strategies. I do think, I always said many, many years ago, there's a series to be done in news for, a TV series called Dying of Embarrassment. And it's treatments or questions we don't ask because we're polite, demure, self-conscious people.
Yeah.
Is there blood in your stool? Is there a lump in your breast? Are you experiencing night sweats? All things dealing with parts of our bodies that are private.
Yeah.
And I would say a good physician, a good physician's assistant, nurse practitioner, medical person doesn't see any part of the body as shameful or problematic. It's all something that makes you you. Yeah. And if it's not working, then ask. And I do also think there's community. People have faith-based communities, they have bridge clubs, they have neighborhood groups. Finding people that you can have conversations with, whose opinions that you trust, and see how they've walked, the journey, I think has been very helpful. I'm grateful. My mom was very open. First of all, we thought she was having some sort of stroke. That's not funny, but we're like, what is going on? She would just, and the kids would, it's like, Grandma's having a hot flash. My kids would run over and fan her. Yeah. So we knew something was up, and I'm grateful to have that knowledge, because a lot of people, that is a privilege in a way.
And I do think and hope more and more people are talking about this, and it's one of the reasons I'm talking about it, because there will be people who are like, why are you talking about this on a podcast, on the news? And it's because I want to help others, because for 3 years I was suffering with these symptoms. And as my doctor put it, you don't have to suffer in silence. I don't know that I was silent, because I was complaining a lot of times about certain things, but I didn't know what it was. Yeah. And us, again, just having conversations, so not being afraid to talk with other people, really helped me figure out, yes, I'm in perimenopause. And even now, at age 42, that's a little bit weird and sometimes hard to say that I'm in perimenopause. But I want to take away any shame or anything that surrounds it.
Absolutely.
Because it is a part of life.
It absolutely is. And, it's interesting. There's a lot of conversations around hormones. On the men's side, testosterone. Are you experiencing low T? And we see and hear those commercials a lot. I am seeing a lot of tips and tricks on TikTok from influencers regarding perimenopause and menopause, and it does give me pause, because I tend to be, a science girly, and I want to make sure that we are, as much as we encourage people to build community and listen to the advice of others. Obviously be wary, because there are snake oil sales people everywhere you turn.
No, my doctor said the exact same thing. I guess I should say our doctor. I want to say where she mentioned to go, because she said the importance. Yes, a lot of us are on social media. We can get some valuable information from there, but anyone on social media can be an expert, whether they truly are or not. So she said where she goes for reliable information and what she recommends that you should look for on these topics, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists, and she highly recommended the Menopause Society. She said that society analyzes the data and makes the guidelines for a lot of the treatments that we are taking. So not that you should toss everything aside you see on social media, but take it with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
And then, yes, go and expand on these known and reliable sources.
The Menopause Society. Okay. Well, that is, I was not familiar with that resource, so thank you.
Same. And I've learned a lot throughout this process. I hope you learn a little bit from my story as well. And I'm just glad that this 3-year journey that I've been on really kind of feels like it's coming to a conclusion. I know there's more steps in it, but now that I know I'm in perimenopause, I feel much more comfortable and much more prepared to deal with what's next.
Wonderful. And we will charge ahead with whatever that may be.
Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of your trusted local podcast. Have a great rest of your day.